exactly how to eat and behave in order to reduce belly fat and to improve your overall health. You told me about the first two styles of fasting. The first one was intermittent fasting, which is 12 to 16 hours, which is good for weight loss, brain fog, that kind of thing. The second is autography.
Autophagy.
What did I say?
Autography, but I like it.
I said autophagy. I said autophagy.
It works for me.
We can play that back. I definitely said autophagy. And if I didn't, we'll fix it with AI. Autophagy fasting, which is 17 to 72 hours, good for balancing sex hormones and preventing illness.
Yeah.
Broadly.
Yeah.
Number 3, we haven't spoken about, gut reset fast.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah. So that's based off a study that came out of MIT that showed 24 hours without food and your intestinal stem cells inside your gut actually start to reboot themselves. Now, a stem cell is a cell that can go to anywhere in the body and repair itself. But at 24 hours, you get a plethora of them in your gut. And in the gut, we've got a damaged microbiome from everything that we've just been talking about. So what I discovered in this 24-hour fast is I could take women that have been on birth control pill for years, people that have been on multiple rounds of antibiotics, people who had been eating horrible food. And I could actually put them through a 24-hour fast once a week, once every couple of weeks. And these stem cells would come in there and they would start to repair. And so now if I teach that person how to eat right, their food is actually starting to build a better microbiome in the gut. So that 24-hour fast became this go-to in my clinic where I could take all these gut challenges and I could start to unwind them just because I knew the body had this capability of making these intestinal stem cells. And it was crazy. Like we got people off supplements. We got people that weren't making serotonin, which affects moods, comes from the gut. All of a sudden started to become happier. People who hadn't had bowel movements in like 3 days, all of a sudden we started to put in this gut reset, and it was like a miracle. It was incredible.
Number 4, fat burner fast.
So the fat burner fast is probably my favorite for those people who want to lose weight. The research was done that 36 hours without food, followed by 12 hours of eating, and then another 30. They actually did it over a 30-day period, but we've been using it in our community, just dosing it in. That at 36 hours, what happens is that's enough time where the blood sugars come down, where all of a sudden the body, it's so smart. It goes, okay, blood sugar's not coming. We've been in this fasted state. We've triggered autophagy. We've brought inflammation down. We've made you ketones. We're trying to go find food, but this extra weight, it's not serving you. Because remember, you got to go find food. So it drops weight. And it's the most beautiful way to get a person to unstick any kind of weight loss resistance. But most importantly, you know where it dropped the most amount of weight from? Where does everybody want to lose weight?
Belly.
Yep. So it is I probably should have called it the fat burning, belly fat burning.
Yeah, the belly fat. Yeah, that would have banged. Yeah.
But yeah, and so that's what they showed is that actually a 36-hour fast started to unstick weight loss, and it was started with weight around the belly.
Compelling. Number 5, the dopamine reset fast.
Yeah. So number 5, I found some research showing that when people go without food for 48 hours, the whole dopamine system will be rebooted. So what's important to know about the dopamine system is it is our molecule of happiness. It is the thing that it's actually a motivation molecule. And it's a neurotransmitter that allows thoughts, happy thoughts, to go across from neuron to neuron. And so what happens, and I'm sure you've talked about this on your podcast, that we're so dopamine saturated right now. Mm-hmm. But specifically people who are overeaters, they actually are finding, the study I quote in the book is that they found that people who had food addiction, people who had extra weight, like obese situations, they were not getting as much happiness out of their food because their dopamine receptor sites were saturated. So they had to eat more food to get more happiness. And you know, food is a state changer. It does make us happy. So what they found is if they put them into a 48-hour fast, that they actually rebooted the whole dopamine system and new dopamine receptor sites appeared. So that when they brought food back in to the equation, they actually got more enjoyment out of food with less food.
This kind of got me thinking about a conversation I was having yesterday with some of my team here. We were talking about how it almost feels like sometimes if I've eaten sugar, I can go into a bit of a sugar cycle. And what I mean by that is I'll have some sugar and then like a couple of hours later, I'll have another craving for sugar. And then a couple of hours later, I'll have another craving for sugar. But then at other times, specifically, for example, when I did keto, I did the keto diet for about 8 weeks, bloody 8 months, I wish, 8 weeks. And throughout that period, I didn't have any cravings for sugar.
Yep.
We had some chocolate come into the studio and I walked over to the chocolate and I smelt it.
Yep.
And I didn't want any of it.
Yep.
It had gone.
Yep.
But then when I'm in what I call like the sugar cycle, I'm eating sugar maybe, once or twice a day and I'm getting like the craving for it, which I just can't seem to resist.
Yep. Well, dopamine's the molecule of more. It's not the molecule of enough. So what it does is when you get sugar, you get this dopamine rush and the brain goes, whoo, love that. Give me more of that. And so it's endless. You will never be fully satisfied. It constantly wants you to come back for more and more and more. So when you start to go off of the ketogenic energy system, you're getting the same euphoria. You probably felt the same high, the same mental clarity, but you've totally taken this molecule more out of the picture. In fact, dopamine will actually, you get those receptor sites that will be repaired, but you're not getting a big dopamine buzz when you're in a ketogenic state. You're getting ketones.
I was mulling it with my team how long I had to stay away from sugar to kind of get out of that vicious give me more cycle.
Yeah. My experience has been it's about 3 days.
3 days. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I think I said 4 or 5, but it's just from experience as well. If I haven't had sugar for 3 or 4 days, I mean like a chocolate bar, something significant in terms of sugar, then after 3 or 4 days, the craving for it seems to vanish.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not, if you think about that, it's not hard if you're trying to overcome a sugar addiction.
Yeah.
Like just bear it for 3 days. And then that dopamine stops barking at you. And then if you tack fasting onto it, now you're getting ketones. And so you're not needing that as much. Ketones kill hunger and they make you so mentally clear. They give you this euphoric feeling. So you don't have that urge to go for the sugar.
And the ketones come from fasting, which is when your body switches metabolic state. Got ya. The last and final fasting style, immune reset fast.
Yeah, so immune reset was built off of Dr. Walter Longo's work, and he did a study on people who had cancer and were going through chemotherapy. And one of the challenges we know about chemotherapy is that it wipes out the whole immune system. And so he wanted to see, well, what if I put somebody in a fasted state as they went through chemotherapy? Would there be a difference? And what he found is after 3 days of fasting, the white blood cells in our system actually reboot themselves. So what they do is all old white blood cells are sloughed away and new white blood cells emerge. So people were able to come out of that chemotherapy experience and have a stronger immune system, as opposed to what we were seeing was that it was wiping the immune system out. So that launched the whole 3-day water fast sort of craze. At least here in America, we're seeing a lot of people that are just going after 3-day water fast to prime their immune system. But you also at 3 days get stem cells, full systemic stem cells. So all of a sudden your body's got surging with stem cells going to all parts of the body, repairing it. The great example I always use on this one was I had an Achilles tendon injury and nothing was helping it. So I threw a 5-day water fast at it. On the 4th day, I felt this buzz in my Achilles tendon, and I was like, oh, wonder what that is. And it stayed all the way through. I went 5 full days. And about the 5th and 6th day, so 6th day I was entering food back in, all the pain completely went away and it never came back. I tried everything, and that was the only thing that repaired it.
It does make, again, evolutionary sense that if our body senses we're injured, because we're not eating or, some other signal that we are on a course to not survive, to put it nicely, it does make sense that it might set about to repair whatever needs to be repaired.
You're getting it.
Because if I was a wounded human back on the savannas of, I don't know, Africa or wherever we came from, and I'm laid there and I'm not eating, my body should probably go, okay, Steve might need something fixed so that he can get back to hunting.
So you're getting it. So survival, that is the number one priority of the body. So when you go without food, you amplify every resource it has to keep you alive. And if repairing my Achilles means I can now go hunt for food, it's going to do that. It's going to make me stronger. And in the book, when I was writing the book, I stumbled upon a really cool hypothesis that's called the thrifty gene hypothesis. And it said that it's a theory, obviously it's a hypothesis, it's a theory that the humans that evolved out of the primal days had a very specific genotype. And this genotype allowed us to metabolically flex and be stronger in a fasted state because we had to survive. And the people that didn't make it from that time period didn't have that gene. But think about this for this moment. So they think we all have this gene inside of us right now, this thrifty gene, where we can go long periods without food and we can survive. So what happens when we're eating all day? What happens when we're ignoring and we're not actually activating that genetic profile? So what they are now believing is that diabetes, metabolic syndrome, all of that is largely happening because we are going against the genetic profile that we are now seeing in humans. We're like on the opposite end of this spectrum.
We're overloading our bodies.
Yeah.
Which is meaning that the survival gene you referenced there is not being activated to help us.
That's right. That's right.